Hey guys, my name is Moon and welcome back for more Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 2, Watanagashi. So, last time we started the actual festival, right? The Watanagashi. It was very fun in the beginning. Very slice of lifey again, right? Them just playing around, eating stuff, right? And then the second half, Shion called Kichi. They went outside, went far, right? And then they saw Tomitake and Takano doing some suspicious stuff, I guess, right? And then by the end, Keiichi, Takano, and Shion went inside the storehouse, right? And let's see. Let's see what happens today. Let's go. The inside was pitch black, but Takano-san turned on the battery-powered lantern she'd brought, revealing a pretty cramped front room.
真っ暗だね。
Okay, so Tomitake also went in. I thought he was gonna stay outside.
みんな転ばないように気をつけるんだよ。
ご心配ありがとう。じゃあ、門番をよろしくね。ここ、閉めるわよ。
Takano-san smiled spitefully as if leaving Tomitake-san out of something fun and began to close the door.
やれやれ。じゃあみんな、ゆっくり楽しんでおいで。
There was a low, heavy, and loud noise, and we were completely cut off from the outside world and covered in silent darkness. Takano-san's lantern was the only light we had.
大丈夫よ。予備電池も入ってるアウトドア仕様なんだから。冷えたりなんかしないわよ。
I'm more worried about you than the lantern, Takano-san. Looks like Takano noticed my uneasy expression. I couldn't help but blush a little and avert my gaze. Deeper inside, there was a heavy and old but sturdy door with solemn decorations on it. It was the last door sealing away what was within.
ただの倉庫なのに前室があるなんて変わってるでしょ。一度に1枚ずつ扉を出入りさせることによって、細具殿の中が外に見えないようにする工夫だと考えられるわね。
Takano-san explained this, awfully impressed by the construction. But still, it is really dark in here. And that over there, I spotted a circuit breaker hanging from a clump of wiring clumsily attached to the wall.
これ、明かりのブレーカーか何かじゃないですか?
I flipped the biggest switch I can find, and with a click, the pitch-black room was illuminated by an old bare light bulb. Everyone scrunched up their faces at the sudden strobe of brightness.
ダメです。
Before she even finished, Shion slapped my hand and flipped the switch back. There was another loud click, and the room returned to darkness with only the lantern for illumination.
いてててて。
I mean, I guess Shion is right here, though. People will see, right, if there's a big light coming from this place.
ダメです、ケイちゃん。私たち、ここに忍び込んでるんですよ。
Yes.
明かりなんかつけたら、バレちゃうかもしれないじゃないですか。
I'm scolded by Shion fairly harshly. It looked like she was worried about whether someone had seen them from the momentary light.
大丈夫よ。本当に一瞬だし。
Takano-san remained a relaxed adult. It seemed like she was confident she could talk her way out of it if someone did see us.
さあ、入りましょう。よいしょっと。
The even heavier door opened, and this time it wasn't just the dust that came out with the air. There was also a nasty smell. One smell was like opening a dust-filled cupboard in the back of a kitchen that had been open in years. And the other smell, the nasty one, was hard to explain, but it was like the raw odor of a fish market. From how the sound echoed, this room felt far larger than the first. Takano-san held up her lantern and revealed the contents of the expansive room. Jesus. At the back wall, the storehouse right in front of us was a Buddha-like holy object standing there looking down at us. I was taken aback by its unseen force, lit up by the slender beam of the lantern.
あれがひなみ沢の守り神、お社様よ。
Ooh, this was the place in the beginning, right? Before we started the game. Yeah, this is the place.
社にあるのよりずっと立派ですね。
This one is far grander? Oh, Yashiro-sama. So this is the spirit protecting Hinamizawa. The one guarding the holy land of Hinamizawa from the impurities of the outside world. The one delivering punishment after punishment upon those who attempted to sully the land with the dam construction.
想像してたよりたくさんの細具が収められているようね。でも残念。どれもあまり手入れがされていないわ。状態が悪いのが悔やまれるわね。
Even in the dim light, I could see a lot of strange objects lining the walls, ceilings, and shelves. Takano-san, speaking as if in a trance, was infatuated by the various implements filling the dark room. They weren't very festival-like or traditional, but instead this was more like the workshop of a blacksmith or carpenter. There were a lot of large wooden and metal tools packed in here. Look at this though on the left side, look at that. You can put a person there. What the hell is that? Putting it bluntly, it was all pretty boring stuff. I'd imagine there would be more artistic things in here from the Heian period, but these are far cry from being cultural artifacts. My expressions betrayed my dashed hopes and they caught on right away.
あら、面白くないかしら？
俺は文系でも美術系でもないんで、あんまりこういうのを見てもよく価値がわからないです。
圭一くんはよくわかってないみたいね。無理もないけれど。
Takano-san reached into a paper bag that she'd been holding the whole time, took out a worn scrapbook and began to flip through it.
じゃあ、圭一くんのために昔話でも聞かせてあげようかしら。この地方では一般的な昔話よ。図書館に行けば教育委員会推薦の本にも載ってるくらいにね。
Telling stories in such a dark, creepy place. She must have a horror story in mind. Shion's face belied nothing but calm. If she had the same personality as Mion, she'd have found fault with me being scared. I'll endure it for now and pretend to be calm.
いい？じゃあ、読むわよ。
After confirming that I was going to be quiet and listen, she began to speak softly like a kindergarten teacher reading a picture book.
昔々、ある山奥の村にね、その沼はね、底なしの深い深い沼でね、地の底の鬼の国につながっていたんですって。
The rumor said that it was deeper than the ocean and that anyone it swallowed would sink into the underworld, a bottomless swamp. Who said this to us last time? I think, yeah, someone said a story about this. Was it Oishi? Right? Yeah. It was the name, or its name was Onigafuchi. Wait, I thought back to the story I heard yesterday about the sacrifices sinking in the bottomless swamp. Could that be the swamp she's talking about?
ってことは、その村はひなみ沢ですね。
察しがいいわね。そうよ。当時は鬼ヶ淵村って呼ばれてたけどね。
鬼ヶ淵村。物騒な響きのある名前だな。
イメージもあったんでしょうね。明治の頃に今の名前に改称されたって聞きました。
The name of the swamp connected to hell was called Onigafuchi, which meant the demon's abyss. And the true name of this village, Hinamizawa, was Onigafuchi Village.
村人たちは鬼の国、つまりは地獄のことね。鬼の国とつながるという沼を崇めながら過ごしてきたの。でもね、ある日のこと。
Hmm. Nice picture. Demons began to appear one after the other from deep in the swamp. The villagers feared that a hell was overflowing. The demons mercilessly attacked the villagers. They could only watch in fear. They could do no more than hide themselves and tremble.
で、誰かが鬼を退治するわけですか？
残念だけど、このお話には桃太郎みたいな正義の味方は登場しないわ。
Superman.
じゃあ、村を挙げて戦うわけですか？
まさか。村人たちに鬼と互角に戦える力などあるわけもない。
じゃあ、村を捨てて逃げるしかないですよね。
それも無理ね。村人たちにとっても村は大切な郷里だったから。どんな恐ろしい鬼が攻めてきたからといって簡単に逃げ出せるはずもなかったのよ。
じゃあ、どうするんですか？滅びるしかないじゃないですか。
Unable to fight and unable to run, all they could do was wait for the village to be destroyed. Then, when everyone had lost hope, their god... Okay, what happened? Their god, Oyashiro-sama, descended onto them.
なるほど。つまり、天からやってきたお社様が鬼たちをやっつけるわけですか。
ケイちゃんは男の子ですね。すぐに腕力で解決する方に走るんですから。
Shion sighed, a little annoyed, embarrassed. I held my tongue.
お社様はね、やっつけるとかそういう暴力的な神様じゃなかったの。もっと優しい慈愛のある神様だったの。
The strength of Oyashiro-sama descended from the heavens couldn't be compared to that of demons. They didn't even fight, they simply prostrated themselves before this radiant authority, or before his radiant authority. Oyashiro-sama urged them to go back to hell whence they came, but the demons wept and challenged him, saying they could never return.
鬼たちの世界にも厳しい戒律があってね。彼らは地獄を追放された鬼たちだったんですって。
Demons, who didn't have a place to go, neither in hell nor the human world. Of course, they were at fault for attacking the village. They deeply reflected on it and were sorry.
村人たちも話を聞くうちに少しずつ気の毒になっていったわ。それでね、村のみんなで話し合った結果、鬼たちと一緒に住むことを決めたの。
退治するとか追っ払うっていう昔話は多いけど、共存ってのは確かに珍しいですね。
ですよね。鬼ってのは元来諸悪の象徴のはず。それとの共存を決めたというお話なんだから本当に変わってます。
When the demons first heard the villagers' invitation, they dotted their ears but soon burst into tears of joy. The villagers had given them a place to live. It was said that in payment for this good deed, the demons shared their many kinds of powers and secrets with the villagers.
お社様はその微笑ましい交流をとても喜んでね、鬼たちが村人と分け隔てなく暮らせるよう人間の姿を与えたんですって。そして自らも地上にとどまり、末永く両者の交流を見守ることにしたんだそうよ。
A land in which man, demon, and god lived together. I thought the word demon was a noun meaning evil that needs to be exterminated. A god may have mediated for them, but you don't often hear a happy endings like that where both sides live in harmony. I see. I guess it is kind of interesting.
普通のおとぎ話ならここで終わりなんだけどね。このお話は 江戸時代にだいぶ加筆されたみたいで、まだまだ続く随分と長い話になってるわ。
After that, the humans and the demons intermixed, and eventually there was no difference between them.
鬼の存在は結局村に溶け込んで消えてしまったということですか？
いいえ、消えたりなんかしないです。半分はしっかりと残ってたそうですよ。
The knowledge the villagers had received from the demons basically made them into something inhuman, what people call transcendent. They were well aware that the power they had was a heresy, and as those below worshipped them, they lived out their lives in secrecy.
このお話がね、その後に派生するたくさんの昔話、フィクションの原点になってるの。だからこのお話がある意味基礎中の基礎、ベーシックね。
The basis.
原点ってどういう意味ですか？
村人たちは鬼の血を引いているという部分ですね。つまりこの辺りに伝わるさまざまな伝承や昔話は全部その村の人たちは鬼の血を引いているというのが前提になっているんです。
There was a hint of amusement in Shion's face as she said that. It was like she wanted to say that she too had a demon blood in her. Is there any proof though? Maybe it's somehow rooted in historical fact beyond just fairy tales.
あら、じゃあ前原くんは沼から鬼が現れて人間と交わったっていうのは本当にあった出来事だって信じてるのかしら？
信じないわけじゃないんですけど。
When you said demon, she meant the ones from hell, but in ancient Japan, the word wasn't necessarily used to denote only that kind, right? The more well-known use involves the drifting foreigner theory. As the story goes, the Westerners who were shipwrecked in nearby seas had such markedly different customs that they were called demons. Japanese people were relatively similar in appearance to other Asians, but everything about those from the West was different. Their physiques, their faces, and their skin color. In Japan, terms like red demon and blue demon evoke images, especially of Westerners. Lacking in skin pigmentations, Westerners would sunburn easily and turn red. Being fair-skinned, I think blood vessels appearing on their skin would look blue too. A handful of accident aliens would drift into Japan and came under persecution being called demons. They would flee into the mountains to survive, turn into bandit groups, and attack villagers for food and the like.
なんて説はどうでしょう？ちょっと子供じみてますかね。
Takano gave me a weird smile when having come up with such an impromptu hypothesis. I unconsciously followed it up with self-depreciation. Or self-deprecation, I mean. Still, she didn't smile as if to make fun of me.
別におかしくないわよ。実際に漂流異人説を唱える人もいるもの。でも実際はどうなのかは誰にもわからない。山賊化した異人の集団だったのか、本当に地の底から来た鬼たちだったのかね。
じゃあ高野さんはどっちを信じてるんですか？
真相は別にして、夢のある方を信じたいわね。その方が面白いでしょ。
Her answer made her sound a wee bit like a romanticist. Here I thought she'd reject unrealistic stories like that.
さて、いよいよここからよ。面白くなるのは。
Takano-san brought an end to her storytelling and waits for a moment as if to tantalize us.
Huh?
Suddenly, Shion looked around as if something had caught her eye. Her head bobbed to a fro like she was making sure nothing had changed.
どうしたシオン？
ごめんなさい。気にしないでください。
Shion pretended as though nothing had happened. Takano-san also made sure nothing had happened, then cleared her throat and broached the next subject.
村人たちに半分鬼の血が流れてるのは話したわね。実はその血なんだけど、 鬼は鬼でも人食い鬼の血なんだって言われてるの。
人食い鬼ですか。急に物騒な響きになりましたね。
その血は今でも村人たちには脈々と流れていてね。
Did it kind of turn darker? Yeah, in her face. The hell?
時折その血が眠りを覚ますと言われてるわ。
I thought Fairy Tale had a happy endings, but with humans and demons leaving in peace. But it began to suddenly change into a brutal, bloody story.
人食い鬼だから何十年かに一度どうしても人肉が食べたくて仕方がなくなる周期があるんですって。
Wait, what did she say again? Okay.
だからって村人同士で共食いするわけにはいかない。だから彼らはその度に人里へ降り鬼隠しをしたと伝えられてるわ。
何ですか、鬼隠しって。
平たく言えば鬼たちによる誘拐行為よ。鬼ヶ淵村の村人たちが人里に押し寄せ哀れな生贄を無理やり力ずくでさらったんですって。
Takano-san's explanation was plain and simple, but when I imagined what it must have been like, it was terrifying. They lose their human reason. The villagers turn into real demons en masse. They attack the villages they loathe in the dirty world of masses below. And then they kill and eat their sacrifices.
それじゃあ鬼と何ら変わりないじゃないですか。お社様はどうしたんです？その村にとどまって人々を見守ってるんじゃなかったでしたっけ？
もちろんお社様も了承してたそうよ。だから鬼隠しは無差別ではなく神様が決めた生贄以外には誰もさらわなかったらしいし、ほとんどの場合は一人か二人だったって記されてるわね。
A village inhabited by those both human and inhuman. It was like the heartwarming episode colors had inverted like negative film, revealing the painful and ugly truth.
そうして生贄をさらってきた夜にはね、哀れな犠牲者をおいしくいただくため綿流しの儀式が開かれたというわ。
Watanagashi. Tonight's festival was Watanagashi. I just couldn't reconcile the fun festival with the horrible tale Takano-san was telling me.
綿流しは確か冬の間に使った布団なんかに感謝するお祭りじゃなかったでしたっけ？
ケイちゃん、綿って言いません？臓物のこと。
Shion, who had been silent until now, spoke up.
綿？そういえば言うな。
Entrails.
魚の綿っていう。え
Like a jigsaw puzzle, the fun times I had today in Takano-san's grotesque tale clicked together in my mind.
綿流し。
Gut spilling. I didn't think saying that could ever feel so nauseating.
そう、
Jesus, the music. Yes.
前原くんの想像している通りよ。今でこそ綿流しは毎年6月に行われるちょっと早い夏祭りに過ぎないけど、哀れな食材をさらってきた夜にだけ開かれた凄惨な人食いの宴のことだったの。
嘘だ。
Usuda. I remember saying Rena saying Usuda. I had no real reason to say that, but I couldn't help it.
前原くんはさっき綿流しは布団を清める儀式だと言ったわね。綿が詰まった布団って何を意味してると思うかしら？
布団は布団だろ。シング、 寝るための道具だよ。他に何の意味があるんだよ。
I was rattling on, desperately attempting to deny the horrible festival that Takano-san was describing. Deep down, however, I found myself understanding all too well what she meant. Futon stuffed with cotton. If the cotton represented entrails in both pronunciation and meaning, then entrail-filled futons would have to be humans. Yeah.
ではリカちゃんがやった奉納演舞を思い出してちょうだい。リカちゃんがあそこで何をしていたか。
わからねえよ。第一、リカちゃんの演舞は最後までちゃんと見てないし。
ケイちゃん、エキサイトしすぎです。
Please don't come close to me. Shion grabbed one of my ears, reminding me that this wasn't somewhere I should raise my voice. Even so, I still can't suppress this agitation I feel.
リカちゃんが持っていた祭事用のクワ。もううすうすは気づいてると思うけど、あれは田畑を耕すクワではなくて、人間の腹をこじ開けるための解剖道具なのよ。
What? Oh my god, what is this? You look at her face. If you think that Takano has nothing to do with this, all the things that's been happening, you're dead wrong. Like, look at her face here. I didn't see the dance all the way through, so I don't know what kind of performance Rika-chan was putting on after I'd left. When I told this to Takano-san, she kindly explained Rika-chan's dance to me. To summarize what she said, after what I'd seen, Rika-chan would pierce the futons with that hoe, cut them open, and pull out the cotton inside. She'd cut the cotton out one bit at a time and set it afloat. That's the kind of ritual it was.
平たく言えば、魚の綿を取り出して三角コーナーに捨てるのを仰々しく儀式仕立てにしたってことね。それで儀式はおしまい。その後はそれぞれの役割を持った村人たちがおのおのに肉を解体して美味しくいただいたって考えられてるわね。
At Takano-san's strangely happy giggle, I felt for some reason violent displeasure. Rika-chan, every day during her lunch break, she'd take a rice-pounding mallet into the schoolyard, and she'd work so hard, sweating bullets, to practice for the offertory dance she had done today. All that effort, all that work, Takano-san disgraced it. Even though she worked so hard to practice for today.
高野さんももう少し言葉を選んでほしいです。
Yes.
ケイちゃん、ナイーブなんですから、あまりからかわないでください。
A moment before I opened my mouth to express how angry I was, Shion stopped me. Shion must have been fully aware of the story, how the story made me feel.
ごめんなさい。男の子だからショッキングな話は結構好きかと思って。
Takano-san spoke without a hint of malice, as she smiled gracefully. Is that graceful though?
この辺まで話を聞けば、ケイちゃんにもこの最後殿の中にどういうものがあるのか理解できるようになってきませんか？ほら。
Shion pointed out one of the walls vaguely illuminated by the lantern lights. There was, mere moments ago, they hadn't held my interest. They were just boring-looking tools all lined up on the shelves. All those uninteresting tools that I didn't understand how to use, they all suddenly took on a new meaning, and I couldn't help but let out a groan. At first, they had looked like carpentry tools, like chisels or planes. However, when I thought back, I'd seen pictures of these sorts of tools before. Yeah, they came up in a Japanese history textbook. Yes, on the page introducing the Kaitai Shinso, or the new text on
こう
anatomy.
いうのはね、医学の本場ドイツの文献の方がリアルに掲載されてるわよ。
These aren't carpentry tools. These strangely shaped tools, they're for dissection. Everyone knows that in Edo period, they would dissect the corpses of those who had been put to death in order to gain knowledge about Western medical techniques. Illustrations of the dissection tools they used at the time came up in a textbook supplements. The things hung up on this wall all looked exactly the same as those.
もっと怖い言い方をするなら調理道具といったところかしらね。
Cooking utensils? Takano-san, holding the lantern, the only light source in the room, led us along the wall. She had the only light, so I had to walk after her, whether I liked it or not.
ほら
Takano-san illuminated a coiled chain, which left a bigger impression than the other things we saw. The chain in itself was nothing unusual, but further along it were metal fetters that were like hinges, clearly meant for binding people.
ケイちゃん、あれ。
She untapped me in the shoulder and pointed to a restraining table that was clearly shaped like a person. My spine froze. My blood felt like it was turning into sorbet as it curled up my back. On each of the joints, there were things like chains and iron balls attached. It was like the table was searching for its next sacrifice, ready to spread their arms wide and close them in.
多分まな板じゃないかしら。
Shopping block. Takano's having fun with this. You can hear it from her voice, right?
犠牲者を拘束してこの台の上でお料理をしたんだと思うわね。
The words chopping block sent a jolt through my body. When I looked more closely, there were many dark slices carved into it as through from a form of a knife or a saw. They were the most clear-cut signs of usage you could ask for. It proved these tools weren't just for show, they were used for their original purpose. If someone was strapped tightly onto this table, they probably wouldn't be able to move even a muscle. Their guts would be defenseless. You take one of those eerie cooking knives lined up over there, stab them with it, and then you'd slice open their belly and dissect them.
話には聞いてたけど、すごい。
Before coming in here, Shion had mentioned she had a good guess of what was inside, but it seems to have exceeded her imagination.
まだまだあるわよ。どう？蝋人形館より面白いでしょ。
Takano-san had this happy expression like she was visiting a toy store for the first time. I don't get it. This Mio Takano person has the nerves of steel. Are these bizarre grotesque objects that fascinating to her? I for one was not enjoying myself. I'll be frank, this was all too weird for me. Still, there was something even more horrifying than all of this. That would be none other than Takano-san herself. Takano-san holding the lantern, giving off such a thin beam of light. If she suddenly turned it off, then what would I do when the next moment everything went totally dark? That's why I was scared. Takano-san had the only light, and anyway, I was scared. At some point, Shion started holding onto my shirt sleeve. Let's leave, Shion. Leave Takano here. It was a little annoying to walk like that, but I didn't shake her off. Then minor sensation allowed me to feel the presence of an ally here and now. Before we had even walked halfway through the storehouse, the air I felt on my skin changed completely. These cruel tools lined up, all crammed together in this place. Some were horrible ones, made to take away sacrifices' freedom. And some were tools made to efficiently disassemble and prepare the bodies for consumption. Those were just the things I understood. There were plenty of strange looking objects that I couldn't even guess the purpose of. Now that I was here, I didn't have the slightest desire to hear the details about what sort of terrifying reasons they were meant to be used for. At the very least, they were all completely different from the sort of clean, simple killing function of a katana. Tools to kill people were obviously constructed in such a way that they could kill people. If that was the goal, then the person you used them on would obviously end up dead. The kinds of tools here, however, were different. The tools here were for cutting people, for crushing them, for boiling and cooking them, and for grinding them. They were tools of torture. They weren't made to kill people. People dying was just an incidental result. Actually, they might not even kill them. If the sacrifices could die during such a horrifying ritual process, that would be nice, but they don't even die in the end. They remain in a state of hellish pain. Perhaps they were only being allowed to live. Only now, in this moment, did I realize just how terrifying and fearsome that difference was.
人ってね、上手にやると結構殺さずに済むものらしいの。
Takano-san, as if reading my mind, displayed a shocking
魔
smile.
女狩りで有名な家系、火あぶりなんかはすぐに死んじゃうのよ。全身の皮膚が広範囲にわたって重度の火傷を負うと、組織の分解産物で中毒症状を引き起こし、重度なショックを併発しちゃうから。まあ確かにそれに至るまでがギロチンなんかに比べればはるかに長いところに残虐性があるんだけど。
I mean, yes, because when you're burning, you will still feel that. While guillotine, once it goes down, you're dead instantly. She described such horrors in a strangely medical way. Shion immediately answered the question I had.
高野さん、看護師さんですから。
There's a saying that nothing can scare a doctor. I guess it's true.
ところがね、ローマの時代の処刑方法にね、網焼きというものがあったの。
Oh, dude, I know this. What do you call this again? Iron Bull? Something like that? I forgot its name.
バーベキューと同じにね。
Yeah, they put a person inside like a statue of a bull or some sort.
金網で挟みつけて炭火でじっくりと焼いたんですって。
I think the memories of when I went to a day camp with my family would come rushing back now of all times so vividly.
これだとね、どういうわけかなかなか死なないらしいのよ。ものの本によると一昼夜かけて片側が炭化するくらいこんがり焼いてもまだ意識があって流暢に話をしたなんて記述も出てくるから。
That's insane. You'd grill someone the whole day and they'll still be conscious. It's said that the ancient Rome, famous for the executions, thought of plenty of ways to execute someone while having the victim stay alive as long as possible.
その中にね、お腹を開いて腸をウインナーみたいに引っ張り出してウィンチで引っ張り上げて晒し物にする刑があったんですって。
But imagine if we had this in our modern world, right? Like it was normal to do that? Oh, hell no. Thank God. Sheen was behind me, clinging to me. Not just because she was scared, she was protecting her stomach.
臓物を引っ張り出すなんて聞いただけでもすぐに死んじゃいそうでしょ。でもね、丁寧に優しくやるとね、意識がはっきりとした状態のまま腹渡を引きずり出すことって可能らしいのよ。
I felt sick. Yeah, I felt a sick feeling in my stomach. It was like my organs were coiling up just from Takano-san's stare.
ウィンチで引っ張り出すっていうのはなんだか巧妙な方法だけど、もっと野蛮に裂いた腹から臓物をちぎっては投げちぎっては投げという、そんな恐ろしい刑もあったんじゃないかって十分に考えられない？でも処刑者には意識があるの。それは痛い以上に恐ろしい体験なんでしょうね。
She spoke with pleasure as if she had come here on a sightseeing trip. I heard Shion gulping multiple times near my ears.
ひなみ沢の、いえ、鬼ヶ淵村の渡流しもそんな感じだったのかしらね。ほら、耳を澄ませば聞こえてくるような気がしない？
Okay, I wanted nothing more than to hear anything at all. So why? Why only at times like these do I begin to hear things I shouldn't be able to? Okay, what is happening now? Takano-san, having realized she'd scared Shion and I enough at this point, smiled soothingly. When she's gone, then she turned on her heel, raised the lantern, and began to walk again. If Takano-san left us here, we'd get even further away from the light. She and I, no matter how scared we were forced to follow Takano-san along on her field trip to the ritual storehouse. Can we go now? She says, raising the lantern high in the center of the storehouse. The dim lighting didn't change, but for some reason it felt like I was able to see all those horrible tools at once. Shion stammered while grabbing the nape on my neck. I couldn't tell because it was too dark, but there were a lot more tools hanging from the ceiling as well. They all looked like they were made of iron bars, but then I figured it out. Cages. For cages, they were very small. Cramped cages for one, like a casket. If you got locked up in there, no, you wouldn't get locked up inside. It was another tool meant for restraining people where the iron bars would squeeze you tightly. So many big and large things of all shapes were hanging down. Takano-san mentioned of execution by grilling crosses my mind. We weren't just surrounded on all sides by these terrifying instruments. Things crowding the ceiling were even hanging over our heads.
ヨーロッパの拷問道具にこういった鳥かごがたくさん登場するわね。日本にもあったなんて驚きだわ。
ケイちゃん、あれ、中に入ってない？人？ミイラ？
どれ？
Shion desperately pointed to one of the many human-sized bird cages hanging from the ceiling, but I couldn't tell which one she meant. Being that dark, there wasn't any way you could tell if something was there in the first place.
私には何も見えないけど、見間違いじゃないの
？Shion didn't seem convinced, but without a means to confirm for ourselves, we couldn't do much but wonder.
これで前原くんにもなんとなく信じられるようになったんじゃないかしら。ひなみ沢に伝えられる恐ろしい儀式の数々が。
It's got nothing to do with believing in them. Now that I've been shown the real thing like this, there's no possible way to deny it. Even the nations of Europe, with all their beautiful landscapes and legends, were like a maelstrom during the terrible witch hunts in the Dark Ages. It's well known that the era gave birth to countless gruesome forms of torture and execution. Japan was the same way. Didn't it have its own era of a hellscape like torturous feasts because of religious suppressions and things of that nature? Hinamizawa itself had such a period. It had that much history behind it. Even in Europe, a land of the witch hunt, that was all far in the past. No more than a series of historical events, and in this age, nothing that abnormal would ever happen. That must apply to Hinamizawa as well.
中世の暗黒時代とかがそうだったように、ひなみ沢にも暗黒時代があった。そういうものなんだと解釈します。本当にひなみ沢でこういう恐ろしいことがあったのだとしても、それは大昔の出来事なんです。今暮らしているひなみ沢の人々とは何の関係もないことです。
前原くんは本当にひなみ沢が好きなのね。
It didn't sound like she was making fun of me. Takano-san gave me a light smile.
でも、高野さんはその風習が実は現代にも残っているんじゃないかと思って研究をしてるんです。そうでしたよね。
Wait, Sheen suggested something that made my heart leap into my throat. I don't understand. What? Okay. Are you telling me that all these horrible things are still going on today?
これ本当に内緒なんだからね。
Okay, secret.
シオンちゃんは理解のある人だから話したけど、他の村人には聞かれたくないの。下手をしたら罰当たり者ってことで袋叩きにされかねないんだから。
Sheehan flashed a devilish smile as if reveling in the immortality of it. Or immorality, I mean. Immortality.
前原くんも内緒にしてね。知られたら私、お社様のたたりに会うか、生贄にされちゃうかするかもしれない。たたりなら今年はどんな死に方をさせられちゃうのかしら。生贄なら鬼ヶ淵の沼に生きたまま沈められちゃうのかしら。そういえば今夜よね。
I mean, you keep saying witch hunts earlier, right? Maybe burning?
お社様のたたりがある夜は。
Yeah, she keeps saying witch hunts, grilling and stuff. Maybe you'll burn. Takano-san said bring her face right up close to ours. As to say that if she had the choice, she'd rather suffer the curse. That was what she seemed to be implying. Takano-san took a fairly worn notebook out of her paper bag, then began to flip through its pages. There were all sorts of references and newspaper clippings attached to them, and it had all manner of things written inside. The letters were very small and bunched together, so I couldn't tell at a glance what it was about.
本当は国会図書館で当時の新聞を探したいんだけどね。ほら、ここ。
A photocopy of a page from some book was slid into the notebook, and it too was written in small, tight lettering. Like the other pages, I couldn't tell what it was about just by glancing at it.
これは実際にあったお話よ。明治の終わり頃にね。鬼ヶ淵村で身元不明の惨殺死体が発見されたんですって。
An old newspaper clipping attached to the page spoke of something that was no mere rumor or fairy
当
tale.
時の警察の資料がほとんど残ってないそうだから、口伝と記憶によるものだけなんだけどね。ほら、これ不鮮明だけど、明治の頃の新聞の切り抜きみたい。
Never before has there been a corpse treated with such cruelty and inhumanity. Could it be the work of a demon? Being a copy of a copy, it was very hard to make out, but it was more than enough to make me feel strangely tense. Near the end of the Meiji era, in old Onigafuchi village, a mangled corpse was discovered. The identity of the corpse was unknown. It wasn't even in a state where it could be identified in the first place. It was missing a head, then each limb was separate from the body. How can you even identify that, man? Skin had been peeled off the entire body, and there were markings that implied terrible torture in every place imaginable. Not only that, but the belly had been cut open by a sharp knife with the entrails completely dragged out. The police immediately began an investigation, but since they couldn't even determine the identity of the victim, much less a criminal, finding answers was extremely difficult.
どういう状況かわかるかしら。
I couldn't imagine such a strange sight, even if I tried. This was the first time I was ever thankful for my lack of imagination.
被害者は生きながらにして全身の皮を剥がれ、あらゆる拷問を受けていじめ殺されたんです。そして死後にもさらに遺体を分解解剖と残虐の限りを尽くしたのではないかって筆者は見ているわね。私はどの工程も生きているうちにやったんじゃないかって思ってるんだけどね。
You know what's creepy about Takano is like she's very, very fascinated, right, by all of this. The way she's describing it, it's like she has this I forgot the word, but
前原君はどう思うかしら。
She spoke in a way intended to make me imagine even more vicious things. As my brain was already far over capacity, however, there was no way I could imagine anything more brutal. Then when I broke my gaze from Takano-san's, those strangely shaped weird tools were all around us. I wonder if he could faithfully reproduce the mutilated corpse discovered at the end of the Meiji era with the tools found in this place. I want to deny it. I don't want to admit that something so terrible could have happened at all. Even so, they were so strange, so terrifying, these tools, and as if they had seen through my attempts to escape from them, they did nothing but ridicule me silently.
その薄気味悪い事件が何だって言うんですか？
筆者はね、鬼ヶ淵村の恐ろしい習慣は明治以降の近代。ひょっとすると昭和初期くらいまでは残ってたんじゃないかって結んでるわ。
This corpse, at a glance, appeared to have been brutally killed after a period of torture. In actuality, however, it was the pitiful sacrificial remains of the man-eater's terrifying feast. The corpse was just leftovers. It was so fantastic, so strange that it didn't feel real. Was this an extension of the legends too? It happened in the Meiji era though, which is too recent to be called a legend. Also, there's a newspaper clipping right here suggesting it.
でも本当にあったとしたって昔のことですよね。明治なんて言ったらそれこそ100年くらい前の。
たったよ。たった100年前のことよ。それにね、昭和に入ってからだってあるんだから。終戦直後に騒ぎになった人肉缶詰事件。
What? Uproar around the post-war canned flesh incident?
ごめんなさい。この話はタブーだったわよね。
Takano-san immediately stopped talking as if worried about Shion. Shion briefly looked somewhat angry, but the expression soon disappeared. Explain, miss.
今高野さんなんて言いました？人肉缶詰って。
Just then, there was a huge creaking noise. Everyone whipped around to look. It was Tomitaki-san, oh my god. I had opened the door slightly.
驚かせちゃったかな。
ここ素敵な拷問道具の宝庫よ。
僕は遠慮させてもらうよ。生来ね、こういうのは苦手なんだ。
Takano-san held her stomach and had to muffle her laughter as she wanted to make a comment about his masculinity.
それより、演舞とセレモニーが終わって、みんな沢の方に降りていったよ。あと何分もしないうちにお祭りは終わっちゃう。
あらいけない。前原くんがあまりにも聞き上手だからまたお話三昧になっちゃったわ。
I'd really rather you not mention me in a place like this.
次郎さんは表で待っててくれるかしら。私はちょっと写真を撮るわね。本当はいくつか道具を持って帰りたいんだけど、それはさすがに無理そうだからね。
Okay. Takano-san took a camera out of her paper bag and began to snap photographs. She looked like she was having fun, like she was in a scavenger hunt.
ん？ケイチ君も出るかい？
もう十分に見ましたので。
I've really seen enough, yes.
シオン、もういいだろう。出ようぜ。綺麗な空気が吸いたいよ。
同感です。出ましょう。
I did feel a bit of hesitation in leaving Takano-san by herself in the darkness. Leave her, Keiichi! Leave that crazy woman! When I thought about it, though, I realized whatever kinds of evil spirits and ghosts lurked in the darkness, none of them could hold a candle to how scary she was. Even if a phantasm were to appear, she'd be overjoyed and flash her camera at it. It seemed like Shion shared my somewhat rude mental images. We exchanged glances and smiled painfully. We left Takano-san there bathed in her strobe of camera flashes and decided to go leave the ritual storehouse. Oh my god, finally! The nice music is back. Everyone at the festival seemed to have gone to the stream, so their voices were very distant. The voices of the bugs, on the other hand, were clear, lending an empty feeling of isolation to the place.
どうだい？
What do you mean, how was it? She was very creepy, man.
面白かったかい？
Hell no. Tomitaki-san gave us somewhat a mischievous grin. He should have been able to tell by looking at how pale our faces were.
富武さんと一緒に留守番をしてればよかったです。
Tomitaki-san laughed so delightfully that it wiped away our dark feelings.
シオンちゃんはどうだったかな？怖かったかい？
一応心の準備があった分怖くはなかったですけど、でもやっぱり実物は迫力あります。
Shion spoke like she wasn't scared at all. She really had been quite afraid, but seeing as how I was in a way worse a state than her, I didn't have much room to talk. As Tomitaki-san grinned candidly, my mind exhausted and locked up by nervousness began to calm itself.
高野さんはおとなしく見物してたかな？ほら、彼女子供っぽいところがあるだろう？宝の山を前にさぞや興奮してたんじゃないかと思ってね。
Both Shion and I laughed and left it as their answer.
見るだけならいいんだけどね。こっそりと何かを持ち出したり、いじくりすぎて細具を壊したりしないかが心配なんだよ。
Right, that's quite possible. She's alone in there right now. She might pilfer something small and easily concealed, hiding it in her pocket.
やりかねないです。
Shion said what I was
本
thinking.
当に何も壊したりしなかったかな。なんだかドタンバタンと飛び跳ねるような音がよく聞こえたからね。僕は不安で。
ごめんなさい。
Why are you here?
フィルムがなくなっちゃったわ。二郎さん、フィルムが余ってたら分けてくれないかしら。
Takano-san suddenly appeared while we were talking about her, taking everyone by surprise. Tomitaki-san smoothly grinned and responded as if nothing had happened. He's pretty mature.
あもう予備のフィルムは切れちゃったよ。申し訳ないね。
もういついかなる時でもフィルムを残しておかないと決定的スクープ写真なんか撮れないわよ。仕方ないわね。
Tomitaki-san scratched his head apologetically. Without film, we're done here. Takano-san seemed to have given up because of that too. We checked carefully to make sure we hadn't left anything inside, then closed the door and turned to the heavy padlock we'd left beside it.
高野さん、何も持ち出してないだろうね。
失礼ね。
She definitely took something, man.
そこまで子供じゃないつもりよ。
Cock-like? Tomitaki-san set the padlock back to the way it was before. From a cursory glance, it didn't look like the thieves had snuck in at all.
よし、僕たちも沢に行こう。綿を流すところくらいやらないとお祭りに来た意味がないよ。
Tomitaki-san spoke brightly, urging us all on. Setting cotton afloat down the stream. I shake my head a few times, driving away my dismal thoughts as to the double meaning. Takano-san, looking a little let down, kept turning back to the glance at the ritual storehouse.
もうこれっきりにしてくれよ。十分に知的好奇心は満たせただろう。
まさか。むしろ新しい興味を惹かれるような発見ばかりよ。今日のでこれまでの仮説が一気に現実になったわ。 これで今後の調べ方がだいぶ変わってくるんだから。
Wow, she's truly indomitable. Her curiosity really is something else. She's still interested in all this, true and true. We descended the stone stairs and all the people crowding the stream came into view. Near the bottom of the stairs, we could clearly see people receiving the cotton that had been cut out for them, then wishing upon the cotton and setting it afloat down the stream. The festival was already over.
まずったな。綿流しの一番いいところを撮影し損ねたよ。
あら、まだ遅くないわよ。
Ooh, what's she doing?
私が言って流すんだから。私を撮ってはくださらないのかしら。
Takano-san with an impish expression brought her head to Tomitaki-san's shoulder. Despite his age, he looked embarrassed. I felt an honest respect for Tomitaki-san man to man for dating such a handful of a woman. True though, right?
じゃあね。
Goodbye.
前原くん、しおんちゃんも。
僕たちは今からでも沢に行ってみるよ。君たちも一緒に来るかい？
まさかお二人の邪魔なんてできません。どうぞごゆっくり。
Shion waved her hand to them with an expression just as impish as Takano-san's. Tomitaki-san on his part seemed to want us to come, but whatever. Shion gave a big stretch and sat down on the stone steps.
疲れちゃいました。
同感だな。俺も疲れた。
ケイちゃんは綿流し初めてなんですよね。私なんか気にしないで行ってきてください。私は疲れちゃったんで、人混みはちょっとパスしておきます。
Yeah, if we were to go now, we'd barely slip into the end of the cotton drifting ceremony.
お姉たちがケイちゃんのことを探してるかもしれませんから。
I mean, they definitely are.
行ってきてください。
あ、そうだ。ミオンたちと別れたままそれっきりだったな。探してると悪い。
Then Shion suddenly got a playful look on her face, then put her index finger to her lips as if telling me to keep this a secret.
お姉ってすっごく嫉妬深いんです。私がケイちゃんを独占してたことがバレるといろいろうるさいんで、今夜のことは秘密にしておいてくださいね。
Keeping tonight a secret. Don't say things that are so embarrassing.
そういう意味だけじゃないですよ。今夜私たちがしたことを思えば秘密にするのは当然です。
I mean, yeah, we broke in to that storehouse.
今夜起こるかもしれないお社様のたたり、私たち4人が最有力候補なんですからね。
My god, stop saying that, Shion, just let me go. Shion never burst out laughing.
じゃあ私はお姉に出くわす前に退散します。今日は本当に疲れてるからお姉とやり合えるだけの体力はないですし。
But honestly, like, yeah, after hearing whatever Takano-san rambled about, right, in that storehouse earlier, all those things that she said, and then hearing Shion say this, that, oh, us four might be the prime suspects for today's Watanagashi, right? Or prime candidates, I mean.
シオンってミオンと仲がいいのか悪いのかよくわからないな。
That's really scary, man.
仲いいですよ。
Though, as she said that, her vague expression explained that there are a lot of oddities in the relationship between twins.
俺は一人っ子だからよくわかんないな。せいぜい仲良くしろよ。
はい、余計なおせっかいと承ります。それじゃあ私はこの辺で。ケイちゃんも急いで行った方がいいですよ。本当に綿流しが終わっちゃいます。
Shion stood up and brushed the dust off her backside. After watching her do so, I returned my eyes to the final ceremony of the Watanagashi festival below me.
でも本当にあの音は何だったんでしょうね。 不愉快というか気味が悪いというか。
Wait, what? What do you mean sound?
何の音だって？
Yeah, what sound? There was nothing there.
音ですよ。ドタンバタンって。
I mean, what do you mean banging noise? There was nothing there. It was Tomitake. He came, right?
うるさかったじゃないですか。
I was giving her a blank expression, so Shion stared hard at me. I stared hard at her too.
ごめん、シオン。はしょらないで最初から説明してくれないか。何がうるさかったって？
ケイちゃん、あれ、気にならなかったんですか？
There was nothing there, Shion. So I think Shion is getting what Keiichi got in the first chapter, right? Like seeing all these delusions and hearing things. I think Shion has it now. When all is said and done, it was like we were speaking two different languages.
シオン、冗談抜きで初めから説明してくれないか。音がどうしたって？
ケイちゃんこそ冗談抜きで、本当に気にならなかったんですか？
Neither of us was giving any ground, and both of us were staring at the other in disbelief. We were answering questions with more questions with no sign of an actual conversation in sight. Baffled, I held in the urge to shout at her and ask politely one more time.
もう一度聞くからな。質問は俺からだ。
Shion nodded silently.
じゃあ聞くぞ。音がしたって何のことだ？
ドタンバタンって、なんだかどこか遠くの板の間で子供が跳ねてるような。本当に気にならなかったんですか？
気にならないも何も。そんな音いつ聞こえた？俺は何も聞いてないぞ。
ちょっとケイちゃん、それ本気で言ってるんですか？
Shion asked if she didn't understand my plain and simple answer, pressed me further, her expression serious. I had no clue what she's talking about, but if it has Shion acting so like this, whatever it was, it gave me the creeps and sent a chill down my spine.
さっき最後伝の中で高野さんと一緒に見て回ってる最中、高野さんが昔話を始めた頃からかな。
Wait, you were hearing things then and you didn't say anything?
少しずつ、だんだんと、ちょくちょくと。
She heard a banging sound like a child jumping on a distant floorboard?
嘘だろ？最後の最後で怖がらせるのはなしだぜ、おい。
I didn't hear anything at all. In fact, it was so utterly silent in there that my own heartbeat was almost deafening.
ケイちゃんこそ怖がらせないでください。なんだか高野さんの怖い話に合わせて音を立ててるようで、私ずっと薄気味悪かったんですから。
The chill rose from my spine to the back of my head. My blood turned cold as it crawled up my body. When it reached my head, my mind froze over.
ケイちゃんも高野さんも全然意にも介さない風だったので、私も聞こえないふりをずっとしてましたけど、聞こえましたよね。何度かはすごく大きな音でしたから。
Shion's eyes were begging me to tell her I heard it. I had no doubt, however, that my own eyes suggested something entirely different. You gotta be kidding, look. In that storehouse, we were surrounded by brutal ritual tools that looked like they were from another planet, listening to terrifying old stories. The whole time, Shion had been hearing a sound that we couldn't hear by herself. Should that make Shion who heard it tremble, or should it make me who didn't hear it tremble? I didn't know the answers to that at the time. For now, Shion seemed to have made the decision before I did.
なんだよ、突然。
Yeah, stop laughing like Rena.
引っかかりましたね、ケイちゃん。
My god, she was pretending?
嘘ですよ。嘘。
Are you really, though? I don't think so.
はあ？
Shion laughed, saying how easily scared I was, and clapped me on the back. Dude, what if she actually heard something, right? She was doing what Keiichi was what was happening with Keiichi in chapter 1, right? And then she's just saying this, right? to pretend that, or yeah, to think she's not going crazy or something like that. Her smile seemed somehow artificial and actually made me feel worse. Then after leaving me with 2 or 3 generic diplomatic goodbye phrases, she left, almost like she was running away. See? All I could do was look after her, my mouth agape. At the end of the day, I didn't have a clue what was going on. Shion laughed it off and said she had been lying, but she couldn't possibly have been lying. Of course not. And now that I think about it, Tomitaki-san said the same thing, didn't he?
なんだかドタンバタンと飛び跳ねるような音がよく聞こえたからね。僕は不安で不安で。
Tomitaki-san, the most neutral party at the president at the time, had said he'd heard something. Then that noise, it was real? The banging sounds as though a child was jumping up and down on some kind of floorboards far away. Oyashiro-sama's curse, which happens every year, might happen again tonight. The most plausible victim candidates were Takano-san, Tomitaki-san, Shion, and me. The buzzing of the people sounded further away than I would have liked, and the sounds of the insects sounded too close for comfort. I'm near so much human warmth, and yet I can't ever go back there again. That was the ominous idea that had sprouted in my mind. Then all of a sudden I was pounced on from behind, causing my heart to lurch. Is it Rena or Mion?
Keiichi, 見つけたなのです。
It's Rika-chan. It was Rika-chan. When I turned around, Mion and Rena were there too.
やっと見つけた。あとはさとこか。今年はみんなはぐれちゃったね。来年からはちゃんと合流場所を決めておきたいな。
そうだね。やっぱりお祭りはみんなと一緒でないとね。
I listened to Mion's happy declaration with a little bit of guilt.
ケイイチは僕の演舞はちゃんと応援してくれましたですか？
Yes.
ああ、ちゃんと見てたぜ。最後までちゃんと頑張ったな。ミスもなかったし。
そうだよリカちゃん。あんなのはミスのうちに入らないよ。
I tense up as I realize I made a mistake of my own. Mion slapped a hand onto my shoulder a little roughly. A gross sweat broke out over my whole body.
ケイちゃんはやった？綿をもらって沢に流した？
You haven't yet, right? Is what I could feel her saying. Without the courage to tell me any more lies, I lifelessly shook my head.
あれ？そうなのケイイチくん。早く行かないと終わっちゃうよ。終わっちゃうよ。
ごめん。初めてのお祭りだからさ。よくルールがわからなくて。
そうだったね。ごめん。
Mion took my hand and we started walking down the stone steps.
ねえケイちゃん。
なんだよ。
シオンには会わなかった？
Okay, I thought she was gonna go like the other Mion, right? With the eyes and stuff. That sudden pause there, man. My heart skipped another beat. Maybe Mion could sense my surprise through my hand.
いや、でも、姿を見たような。でも、ミオンとそっくりだからな。ミオンだったのかもしれないし。
そんなに間違えないでしょ？服装だって違うんだから。
そうだよな。
Mion's momentary silence was like a death grip upon me.
しょうがないなシオンは。まああいつのことだから放っておいても大丈夫かな。
Mion's expression returned to her former usual smile and continued down the stone steps, her firmly pulling my hand along. That was very long. Oh, okay, we finished the chapter. Okay, scrapbook 4. The rite of Watanagashi is performed during a village festival every June, even now. But reading back to its origin, turns up seriously sanguine ceremony. Originally, Watanagashi would happen at certain intervals, and after receiving Oyashiro no Sama's trust, they chose a sacrifice. Then the entire village would kidnap, or demon away, the person and ceremony dissect and devour them in a feast. The rules that determine the intervals are shrouded in mystery. This is because the ceremonies occurred extremely irregularly. There's a theory that it was determined based on astrological fortune telling, but it isn't too convincing. The residents of ancient Onikafuchi village firmly believed that they were half man, half demon transcendents, and that they were more valuable than humans were, and they forced people within and without to accept that. Perhaps the act of kidnapping and eating people was done to prove that they were higher up in the food chain. But this is just a hypothesis. But maybe the rite of Watanagashi was a political event for the purpose of being an outlet for, or outright diverting the attention of, the villagers of the isolated Onikafuchi village. In any case, any of their complaints or dissatisfactions grew serious. If that was the main reason the ceremonies were held, then it's easy to explain how erratic they were. So what is in the other scrapbook then? The Meiji era body? Maybe? Right? The one Takano-san was talking about earlier. Alleged importance of the implements. I can't find anything that gives a concrete description on what the ritual implements were like. They were, however, a real, and there were definitely existed a multitude of different kinds. One source states that the implements used in the Watanagashi rite alone numbered 200. The obvious question then is why they required such a myriad of them. The rite of Watanagashi was to kidnap people through the demoning away, dissect them and eat them. I believe the tools were for dissection and restraining, but 200 of them is far too many. Generally, tools evolve in such a way as to reach a solution for a certain problem. Once you reach the ultimate goal, that is, attain a certain level of efficiency, the tool's evolution normally stops there. Regardless, why would they have to create so many different kinds? One of the cultural elements responsible for diversification over time is that of entertainment. Tools used for entertainment would evolve over time and branch out. Unlike normal tools, reaching the ultimate goal would be more of a dead end, and in searching for the next goal, they would split into many different subtypes. So then, perhaps it's not a stretch to suggest that these 200 plus implements had some entertainment value. This is a hypothesis, of course, but maybe the human dissection process was viewed as a type of entertainment. Human dissection is entertainment, man. What the hell? The three families of old would develop one new implement dissection tool after another, and each varied, novel, and attracted spectators to keep them from growing bored. It's not unimaginable. All of them have to be enshrined within the storehouse. There isn't much longer until the night of Watanagashi. Though its original intent has been lost, I will reveal the secrets of the traditional ceremonial night within the ritual storehouse. I can't restrain my excitement. Watanagashi cannot come soon enough. But yeah, though, imagine the people back then, right? Hundreds of years ago. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago. After the festival, okay, this is Oishi again. It says office. In Kumasan, probably. Later that night, tensions in the police station were strained. In the silence, many of the staff members' eyes shifted back and forth between the clock and their telephones, counting the seconds in that stifled atmosphere. Kumagaya-kun burst in with a young guy trailing behind him.
Oi-san! こっちは検視入りました。俺もスタンバイ OK しました。
Hey, autopsy for what?
このまま焼死の現場へ直行します。
Burned body. Actually, someone got burned. What the hell, man?
クマちゃん、ちょっと話がややこしくなりました。向こうは身元の判別が非常に困難な状態だそうです。
まさか4年前のあれっすか？
いいえ、こんがりといい感じだそうで。
He spoke in sportive tones, but the meaning behind his words was heavy. The staff gave a collective sigh.
頭のてっぺんから丸々？
バッチリ黒焦げだそうで、ああいう匂いってこもるんですよね。ギフさんかわいそうだな。
Cooked with no possessions, then discarded outside the prefecture. At worst, it would have taken a week for the body to be identified. The fact that they sniffed it out tonight was huge.
今、小宮山君たちが沖宮の司会を根こそぎ野襲してます。カルテで歯型照合するしかないでしょう。
So this, the name was after the festival, right? So actually somebody died now.
ごめん、
I mean, back then it was Somitake, right?
誰かきつめのタバコ2箱ぐらい買ってきてくれません？
The young guy answered information and darted out in the hallway.
今年は見事見つけましたね。ひょっとすると過去の失踪者もこんな感じで県外で殺されてたんすかね。
なら埋めればいいじゃないですか。重りつけて日本海でも。
でもどうして一人死んで一人消えるのがこれまでのパターンじゃないですか。
クマちゃん、仏は拘束なしでドラム缶の中でこんがりでしょ。多分締められた後にわざわざ焼いたんじゃないかと思うんですよ。見つかることを覚悟の上でです。
じゃあつまり今年は消す気は初めからなかったってことっすか？
消す気がないってよりは、これはそれとは全く別のものでしょうね。消すどころか主張しているようにすら感じられますよ。
つまり見せしめの意味があるってことっすか？
He folded his arms and then heaved a long, heavy sigh.
それをしないでやってくれりゃその線もあるんですがね。こんな遠くまで運んで焼いちゃったら下手したら分かんないでしょう。見せしめにするならひなみ沢の近くでやるべきなんですよ。殺したことを主張したいのに場所は演出効果の確実じゃない遠方。主張したいのか隠したいのか。今年は何考えてるのかな、お社様は。
Or will we actually know now? Telephone ring cut through the heavy silence. A staff member nearby snatched up the receiver.
おいさん、小宮山さんです。出ました。
Oh, here we go, here we go.
沖宮のデンタルクリニックで3年前に親知らずの治療をしてます。
カルテは？
レントゲン付きでバッチリと。
いやー、こんな明け方前に歯医者さんには申し訳ないな。クマちゃん、小宮山君からカルテ受け取ったらすぐに出発してください。
了解っす。課長です。夜分お疲れ様です。
大石さん、遅くなって申し訳ない。状況は？
やっと面白くなってきたってとこですかね。燃えてきたぞー。Wow!
What is wrong? Oh no, we didn't know. Okay. Maybe next episode we'll know. I mean, it's afterwards, right? So we'll probably know then. Okay, but yeah, what do you call this? We at least know that someone died, right? It was only one person this time. One person at least now, I mean. And we don't know who it is. But it would be funny if the one who got burned was Takano, right? Because she kept saying about this being burned, being grilled. And she was so fascinated by it. And it would be funny if it happened to her. But yeah, this one, they made it a little bit different. No, yeah, in this chapter, I mean, they're pretty much saying or telling us that people with, I say demon blood, I suppose, right? They said it earlier. I forgot the exact words, but yeah, they're saying demon blood, or pretty much introducing demons to the series, right? Saying that this is why maybe people are getting killed or something like that. But to me, I still think it's still, yeah, pretty much the same one in the first game. This affliction. I think it's affecting Shion though, right? Because she said after those talks inside the storehouse that she was hearing something, right? She didn't say at the time, but she was hearing something. So maybe Shion got the same thing Keiichi had in the first one, right? Like, I think all of them maybe have them already. No, maybe something like that, right? But for Shion, like, it's getting worse, I suppose. Just like how it got worse with Keiichi, right? Like, when we went to the store in the first chapter, as we went, I mean, until the ending, it got worse and worse and worse and worse. So I think for Shion, it's gonna be like that. And then, yeah, I don't know though, if she might kill someone or something, but I think, yeah, it's gonna be happening to Shion. For Keiichi, after hearing all of this, right, it doesn't seem like he's getting scared and stuff like that, but I guess we'll still have to see the way he talks with other people, right? This next episodes we're gonna get, or parts in our playthrough or our let's play. Let's see if he's gonna go and do some, or he's gonna get some delusions again or whatnot. But for now, yeah, I think it's Shion this time. She's gonna get worse, I mean. And yeah, like this episode, it was not really, I'm not gonna say creepy, scary that much. It was the way Takano was telling her story, right? It's like you want to, like, to vomit or something like that. The way she was telling her stories like that. Yeah, it did not feel scary or creepy. Because after all the things that happened in this game that's creepy and scary, it didn't really feel like that, at least to me. It's just how she was telling all these entrails, dismemberment, killing this, killing that, and her being fascinated by it, right? Like, yeah, the feeling of wanting to puke or something like that. Yeah, it was that, I had that kind of feeling, honestly. While she was talking like that earlier. That was it. I was not really that scared when they were talking in the storehouse. It was more on that. But yeah, it would be funny though. Let's see what happens next episode if they reveal who got burned, right? But it's usually one person dies, right, and one disappears, so yeah, or maybe Takano-san, or Takano, I mean Tomitaki. Instead of him ripping out his throat, he got burned instead this time. But yeah, could it be that it's gonna be the same victims like last in chapter 1? It's gonna be like a pattern here, like, oh, it's gonna be Tomitaki again, and then Takano's gonna go missing again, right? We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But yeah, I like that our friends, Mion, Rena, are pretty much normal in this game. I thought earlier, like, Mion stopped, right? She went close to Keiichi and she stopped. She paused for like a couple seconds. I thought her eyes were gonna change there, but it just continued normally to Mion, right? So I guess, okay, I kind of get it. Okay, whenever I suppose we see that scary side of the characters, right? The eyes changing. Let's say that this affliction is getting worse, right? For Keiichi, like in chapter 1. But for this one, like, Mion's eyes didn't change, right? So maybe for Keiichi right now, he's good. But if it changes later, then we know that this thing that's happening to them is getting worse again for Keiichi. We'll have to see. Yeah, I kind of realized that, right? Yeah, in the first one, the first chapter, when it was getting worse and worse and worse, he was seeing them differently, the eyes, right? It kind of, we call it shining, whatever it's called. But yes, we will continue this and do more of Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 2, Watanagashi, in the next one. So I'll just see you then, guys. Bye-bye.